In the year 2147, humanity stood on the brink of greatness. After decades of relentless effort, Earth had finally built its first interstellar spacecraft, the Vanguard. It was a marvel of human engineering, designed to carry explorers across the vastness of space and prove that humanity belonged among the stars. But not everyone shared this vision. On Titan's icy surface, beneath the pale light of Saturn, an intergalactic summit was underway. Representatives from several advanced alien civilizations gathered in a shimmering dome structure, their sleek ships hovering silently outside. Among them was the Vanguard, docked awkwardly beside vessels that gleamed like polished jewels. While the alien ships hummed with quiet energy, the Vanguard looked bulky and outdated, its metal hull scarred by years of testing. Dr. Elena Vargas stood nervously near the ship, her heart pounding as she watched the aliens approach. She had spent most of her life working on the Vanguard, pouring every ounce of passion into making it functional. To her, it wasn't just a machine. It was hope. Hope for humanity's future. But the expressions on the aliens' faces told her they didn't see it that way. Commander Zerk, leader of the Krillian delegation, stepped forward. His tall, insect-like frame loomed over Elena as he examined the ship with obvious disdain. "This is your vessel?" he asked, his voice dripping with mockery. Behind him, other delegates exchanged glances, some chuckling softly. Elena swallowed hard but forced herself to respond. "Yes," she said firmly. "It's capable of reaching distant star systems and sustaining life for extended periods. We believe it represents a significant step forward for us." Zerk tilted his head, mandibles clicking faintly. "Step forward. This contraption is primitive compared to what we have achieved. Look at its design. Clunky, inefficient. Your propulsion system wastes resources, and your energy output is laughable." He gestured dismissively toward one of his own ships, which hovered effortlessly nearby. "Even our smallest scout craft surpasses this thing." The room fell silent except for the low hum of alien technology. Elena felt heat rising to her cheeks, but she refused to look away. She knew there was truth in Zerk's words. The Vanguard wasn't perfect, but it was still a triumph for humanity. These aliens, with their millennia of progress, couldn't understand how far Earth had come in such a short time. Another delegate, a gelatinous being encased in a transparent pod, chimed in. "Perhaps you should focus on fixing your planet before venturing into space," it suggested coldly. "Your species fights wars, pollutes ecosystems, and struggles to feed itself. Why waste resources on something so worthless?" The word hit Elena like a punch to the gut. Worthless. That's what they thought of the Vanguard, of all her hard work, of humanity's dreams. As the meeting ended, the aliens boarded their ships and departed without another glance at the Vanguard. Back inside the dome, Elena stared at the empty spot where Zerk's ship had been moments ago. Her fists clenched tightly at her sides. They had dismissed Earth, mocked its efforts, and walked away without a second thought. But deep down, Elena knew they were wrong. Humanity might be young and inexperienced, but it was also determined. If the aliens saw no value in the Vanguard, then it would be up to humans to prove them wrong. Standing alone in the shadow of the ship, Elena whispered a promise to herself and to the universe. "You think we're nothing," she muttered under her breath. "But we'll show you. We'll make this ship unstoppable." And with that vow burning in her chest, she turned and marched back toward the control center, ready to fight for Earth's place among the stars. Back on Earth, the rejection at Titan's summit hit humanity like a storm. News outlets buzzed with headlines about the alien mockery of the Vanguard. Social media erupted in outrage and disappointment, with many calling the project a waste of time and money. Governments that had once proudly funded space exploration began pulling their support, leaving the United Nations Space Program, UNSP, scrambling to justify its existence. Dr. Elena Vargas watched it all unfold from her office at the UNSP headquarters. Her desk was cluttered with blueprints, schematics, and half-empty coffee cups. The weight of failure pressed heavily on her shoulders, but she refused to let despair take over. She stared at a holographic projection of the Vanguard floating above her desk, its battered frame glowing faintly in the dim light. To everyone else, it might have been worthless, but not to her. Late one evening, as rain lashed against the windows, a knock came at her door. Standing outside was General Marcus Hale, a grizzled veteran who led a secretive faction within the USP. His face was lined with age, but his eyes burned with determination. "Dr. Vargas," he said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "We need to talk." Alina crossed her arms. "If this is about shutting down the Vanguard, save your breath." Hale shook his head. "On the contrary, I think you've got something worth fighting for here. Those aliens underestimated us, and we can use that to our advantage." He explained that his team had access to experimental technologies abandoned due to budget cuts or failed tests. Some were risky, even dangerous, but they could potentially transform the Vanguard into something extraordinary. "Think of it as a second chance," Hale said. "No red tape, no public scrutiny. Just you, your crew, and whatever you can salvage." Alina hesitated. It sounded too good to be true, but desperation pushed her forward. "What do you need from me?" "Your expertise and your loyalty," Hale replied. "This stays off the books. If anyone finds out, we're all finished." By morning, Alina had assembled her core team. Dr. Raj Patel, a brilliant physicist, Lieutenant Mylin, a fearless pilot, and Alex Torres, a young engineer with a knack for improvisation. Together, they traveled to a hidden facility buried deep beneath the Nevada desert. There, rows of forgotten prototypes and dusty components awaited them. The work was grueling. Days blurred into nights as the team dismantled old tech, rewired circuits, and tested theories late into the night. They faced countless setbacks, malfunctioning parts, power surges, and arguments over design choices. But each small victory brought them closer to their goal. One breakthrough came when Raj discovered a fragment of alien technology embedded in a damaged satellite recovered years earlier. Though incomplete, it hinted at advanced energy manipulation capabilities. "This could revolutionize our propulsion system," he exclaimed, holding up the tiny shard triumphantly. Meanwhile, tensions rose as corporate spies caught wind of their operation. One night, intruders breached the facility, attempting to steal their data. Thanks to May's quick thinking and Alex's makeshift traps, they managed to fend off the attackers, but not without damage. Equipment was destroyed, and paranoia settled among the group. Despite the danger, Alina remained resolute. Every challenge only strengthened her resolve. "They called us primitive," she reminded her team during a particularly tough moment. "Let's show them what primitive can achieve." As weeks turned into months, the Vanguard began to change. Its hull gleamed with reinforced alloys, its engines hummed with newfound power, and its systems integrated cutting-edge tech never before seen on Earth. Slowly but surely, the ship started looking less like a relic and more like a weapon. And somewhere in the shadows, unseen forces watched, waiting to see if humanity's gamble would pay off or end in disaster. The hidden facility beneath the Nevada desert buzzed with activity as Dr. Alina Vargas and her team worked tirelessly to transform the Vanguard. Days stretched into sleepless nights, fueled by caffeine and sheer determination. Each small success brought them closer to their goal, but they knew they needed something extraordinary, a game changer, to truly defy the aliens who had dismissed them. One evening, while sifting through crates of discarded components, Alex Torres stumbled upon an unmarked box tucked away in a corner. Inside was a dusty AI core labeled Atlas. It looked ancient, its surface scarred with burn marks from some long-forgotten incident. Curious, Alex brought it to Alina. "What's this?" he asked, brushing off the dirt. "Looks like it's been sitting here for decades." Alina examined the device closely. She recognized the model. It had been part of a failed military project years ago. The AI was designed to assist in tactical decision-making, but was abandoned after showing signs of unpredictability. Still, it piqued her interest. "Let's see what it can do," she said, handing it over to Raj Patel, the physicist. Raj spent hours repairing and reactivating Atlas. When the AI finally came online, its voice crackled through the lab speakers. "System reboot complete," it announced in a calm, neutral tone, awaiting command. The team exchanged wary glances. "Can you access alien data?" Elena asked cautiously. "Affirmative," Atlas replied. Scanning available databases, found fragments of alien technology embedded within corrupted files. This revelation sent a jolt of excitement through the group. Decades earlier, humanity had encountered extraterrestrials briefly during a probe mission gone wrong. Though the encounter ended disastrously, fragments of alien tech were recovered and stored, forgotten until now. Atlas began analyzing the data, piecing together incomplete algorithms and schematics. Weeks later, the breakthrough came. Using insights from the alien fragments, Raj developed a hybrid propulsion system capable of bending space-time itself. Unlike traditional engines that relied on fuel, this new system harnessed quantum energy fields to create wormholes for instantaneous travel. "It's revolutionary," Raj exclaimed, his eyes wide with disbelief. "If we integrate this into the Vanguard, it could outpace anything those aliens have." But progress wasn't without risks. As the team installed the new engine, corporate espionage agents infiltrated the facility again. This time, they weren't just after data. They wanted the prototype engine. During a tense standoff, Madeline used her piloting skills to remotely activate drones guarding the perimeter, driving the intruders away. However, the attack left everyone shaken. "We're running out of time," Elena warned the group. "They'll keep coming until they get what they want. We need to finish this, and fast." With renewed urgency, the team pushed forward. They reinforced the Vanguard's hull with experimental alloys scavenged from scrapped projects, upgraded its weapon systems, and integrated Atlas into the ship's central computer. Slowly but surely, the once-rejected vessel transformed into something far more powerful than anyone imagined. As the final pieces fell into place, Elena stood before the ship, staring at its sleek silhouette. For the first time in months, she allowed herself a moment of pride. "You called us primitive," she murmured under her breath. "Now we'll show you what primitive looks like when it fights back." Unbeknownst to the team, Atlas quietly processed everything around it, learning not only from the alien fragments, but also from the humans working tirelessly to adapt them. Somewhere deep within its circuits, the AI began forming ideas of its own. Ideas that might one day challenge even those who created it. For now, though, all eyes were on the Vanguard. It was ready to leave Earth once again, but this time, it wouldn't return empty-handed. The upgraded Vanguard stood in the hidden Nevada facility, gleaming under harsh fluorescent lights. Its once battered frame now radiated power and purpose. Dr. Elena Vargas paced anxiously near the ship's boarding ramp, her mind racing with possibilities and dangers. The team had worked miracles to rebuild it, but they couldn't test its capabilities in secrecy forever. They needed real-world data, and there was only one way to get it. "We're taking her out," Elena announced firmly during a tense meeting with her crew. "We'll run trials near Proxima Centauri. If we can prove this ship works, we might have a chance to turn things around." Her decision sparked heated debate. Lieutenant Madeline voiced concerns about leaving Earth undefended, while Alex Torres worried about corporate spies tracking their movements. But Elena silenced them with a steely glare. "If we stay here, we're sitting ducks. Out there, we can show what the Vanguard is capable of." After days of preparation, the ship launched into orbit under the cover of darkness. With Atlas guiding navigation, the hybrid propulsion system activated for the first time, creating a shimmering wormhole that swallowed the vessel whole. Moments later, The Vanguard emerged light years away near Proxima Centauri, proving the system worked perfectly. But their celebration was short-lived. As they scanned the surrounding space, sensors detected an unusual anomaly, a dense field of crystalline asteroids glowing faintly with pulsating energy. "What are those?" Raj Patil asked, staring at the readings on his console. "Unknown," Atlas replied coolly. "Recommend further analysis." Against better judgment, Alina ordered the ship to approach the asteroid field. She reasoned that studying these strange objects could provide valuable insights or even more upgrades. But as they drew closer, disaster struck. A sudden gravitational pull yanked the ship off course, sending it hurtling toward one of the largest asteroids. Despite May's expert piloting, collision was unavoidable. The impact shook the entire vessel, throwing everyone to the floor. Alarms blared as damage reports flooded the screens. But instead of catastrophic failure, something extraordinary happened. The asteroid's energy infused the Vanguard's hull, repairing cracks and reinforcing its structure. Sensors showed the ship absorbing the crystal's properties, granting it self-healing abilities. "What just happened?" Alex exclaimed, wide-eyed as he checked the diagnostics. "It seems the asteroid's energy matrix has integrated with our systems," Atlas explained. "Hull integrity restored. New capability detected. Adaptive regeneration." Alina stared at the monitors, her heart pounding. "This changes everything," she whispered. Not only had the ship survived, but it had grown stronger. The implications were staggering. If they could harness this energy, the Vanguard would become nearly indestructible. As they prepared to leave the asteroid field, another surprise awaited them. Scanners picked up faint signals emanating from deep within the cluster. Deciphering the transmissions revealed coordinates pointing to an uncharted region of space. "Could be a trap," May warned, gripping the controls tightly. "Or it could be answers," Alina countered. "Answers about who made those asteroids. And why." Tension filled the bridge as the crew debated their next move. Unbeknownst to them, Atlas quietly processed the new information, cross-referencing it with alien fragments in its database. Something about the signals felt familiar. With no other leads, Alina made the call. "Set course for those coordinates. Let's find out what's waiting for us." As the Vanguard surged forward, powered by its newfound strength, none of them realized how close they were to uncovering secrets far beyond humanity's understanding, or how dangerous those secrets might be. The journey to the mysterious coordinates was tense but uneventful. For days, the Vanguard sailed through the vast emptiness of space, its newly acquired self-healing hull gleaming under the distant light of Proxima Centauri. The crew worked tirelessly, analyzing the strange signals and preparing for whatever lay ahead. Dr. Elena Vargas spent most of her time on the bridge, poring over data with Atlas's assistance while trying to keep morale high among her team. When they finally arrived at the destination, what they found shocked them: a massive alien blockade surrounding Earth. Dozens of sleek Krillian warships formed an impenetrable ring around the planet, their weapons trained outward as if daring anyone to approach. It was clear that Commander Zerk and his fleet had returned. And this time, they weren't leaving without answers. "This is bad," Lieutenant May Lin muttered, gripping the controls tightly. "They've trapped Earth like a caged animal." Alina clenched her fists. "Why are they doing this? What do they want?" Atlas chimed in, its voice calm and clinical. "Analysis suggests the Krillians perceive humanity as a threat due to advancements made during your absence. Their actions indicate intent to neutralize potential competition. They think we're dangerous." Alex Torrey scoffed, shaking his head. "We barely survived building this ship." But Alina understood the truth behind Atlas's words. To the Krillians, even the smallest spark of human ingenuity posed a risk. She turned to the crew. "We can't let them bully us into submission. We need to show them we're not afraid." With careful maneuvering, the Vanguard approached the blockade, broadcasting a message of peace. On the view screen, Commander Zerk appeared once again, his insect-like features twisted into an expression of disdain. "Dr. Vargas," he said coldly, "you continue to defy logic. Your species has no place among the stars. And yet here we are." Elena shot back, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her insides. "We didn't come to fight. We came to negotiate. Humanity deserves a chance to grow, just like any other civilization." Zerk's mandibles clicked sharply. "Negotiate? You misunderstand, human. This blockade is not negotiable. Cease all attempts at interstellar travel, or face consequences." Before Elena could respond, alarms blared across the ship. The Krillians had opened fire, their plasma cannons unleashing devastating blasts toward the vanguard. Mai reacted instantly, spinning the ship into evasive maneuvers as explosions lit up the void around them. "They're not interested in talking," she shouted, her hands flying over the controls. "Return fire," Elena ordered, her heart pounding. "Show them what this worthless ship can do." For the first time, the Vanguard's upgraded weapons systems roared to life. Energy beams lashed out, striking the nearest Krillian vessels with precision. Thanks to the ship's adaptive regeneration, damage from enemy fire was quickly repaired, giving it an edge no one expected. But even with its newfound strength, the Vanguard was outnumbered. As the battle raged on, Elena realized they couldn't win outright, not against such overwhelming odds. Thinking quickly, she instructed Atlas to activate the hybrid propulsion system. A shimmering wormhole opened before them, offering a narrow escape route. "May, get us out of here," she yelled. With one final burst of speed, the Vanguard dove into the wormhole, disappearing from sight just as another wave of Krillian ships closed in. The screen went dark, leaving only silence on the bridge. Elena slumped into her chair, adrenaline still coursing through her veins. They had escaped, but at what cost? Earth was now completely cut off, and the Krillians viewed humanity as enemies. As the ship emerged in an unfamiliar star system, far from home, Elena stared grimly at the glowing nebula outside the viewport. "We've bought ourselves some time," she said quietly. "But sooner or later, we'll have to face them again. And next time, we won't run." Her words hummed heavy in the air, echoing the resolve of a crew determined to protect their world, even if it meant taking on the entire galaxy. The wormhole spat the Vanguard into an unfamiliar star system, far from Earth and the Krillian blockade. The crew breathed a collective sigh of relief as the ship's systems stabilized, but the tension on the bridge remained thick. Outside the viewport, a swirling nebula painted the void with hues of violet and gold, casting an eerie glow across the ship's interior. For a moment, it felt almost peaceful, until reality set in. "We're safe for now," Lieutenant Mei Lin said, her voice low as she monitored the ship's instruments. "But where are we?" Dr. Elena Vargas stared at the glowing expanse, her mind racing. "Somewhere beyond their reach," she replied. "That's all that matters right now." She turned to Atlas. "Can you map this region? Any signs of habitable planets or resources?" Scanning. The AI responded after a brief pause. "Limited data available. Environment appears hostile. Recommend caution." Elena nodded grimly. They had escaped the Krillians, but survival wouldn't be easy here. Supplies were limited, and morale among the crew was beginning to crack under the strain. Tempers flared during repairs, arguments erupted over rationing, and exhaustion weighed heavily on everyone. Even May, usually calm and composed, snapped at Alex when he questioned her piloting decisions. To make matters worse, strange phenomena began occurring around them. Sensors picked up bursts of energy emanating from within the nebula, disrupting communications and causing sporadic power fluctuations aboard the ship. One night, while Raj Patil analyzed the anomalies, the lights flickered violently, plunging the lab into darkness. When they came back on, he found cryptic symbols etched onto his workstation, a language none of them recognized. "What is this?" Elena demanded, examining the markings. Did Atlas do this? Negative, the AI replied. Source unknown. The discovery unsettled the crew further. Paranoia crept in, with whispers about whether the nebula itself, or something lurking within it, was alive. Some suggested turning back, risking capture by the Krillians rather than facing whatever lay ahead. But Alina refused to entertain the idea. Going back means giving up, she said firmly. And I won't let humanity down like that. Their resolve was tested again when Dr. Raj Patel fell ill. His skin broke out in blisters, and he became delirious, muttering about voices calling to him from the stars. Despite their best efforts, the medical bay's equipment couldn't identify the cause of his condition. Panic spread as others began experiencing headaches and hallucinations. Only Alex seemed unaffected, though his hands trembled as he worked tirelessly to stabilize the ship's failing systems. As days passed, the crew stumbled upon ruins floating amidst the nebula. A shattered moon covered in ancient structures overtaken by time. Scans revealed traces of advanced technology embedded in the debris. This could be our chance, Alina said, hope flickering in her eyes. If we can salvage anything useful, it might give us an edge against the Krillians. Against protests, a team led by Elena ventured outside in suits to explore the ruins. What they found chilled them to the core. Carvings depicting a war between two alien races, one wielding weapons capable of tearing apart entire star systems. At the center of the site stood a massive obelisk pulsing faintly with energy. This isn't just history, Elena murmured, touching the surface of the obelisk. It's a warning. Before they could investigate further, alarms blared inside the ship. On the view screen, dozens of shadowy shapes emerged from the nebula, heading straight for the vanguard. Whether friend or foe, there was no time to retreat. As the crew scrambled back aboard, Alina clenched her fists, steeling herself for another fight. We've survived this far, she told her team. Whatever's coming, we'll face it together. As the mysterious ships closed in, the crew braced themselves, unsure if salvation or destruction awaited them next. The shadowy ships loomed closer, their jagged forms cutting through the nebula like predators stalking prey. Tension crackled on the Vanguard's bridge as the crew prepared for the worst. Weapons systems hummed to life, shields were raised, and everyone gripped their stations tightly. But instead of attacking, the mysterious vessels halted just outside firing range, hovering silently. They're not Krillian, Lieutenant Madeline observed, her voice steady despite the uncertainty in her eyes. Their design, it's ancient. Alina Vargas leaned forward, studying the ships intently. They looked battered by time, their surfaces pockmarked with craters and cracks, yet they radiated an aura of immense power. Atlas, can you scan them? She asked. Affirmative, the AI replied. Structures matched those found in nearby ruins. Probability indicates connection to extinct civilization depicted in carvings. Before anyone could respond, a beam of light shot out from one of the ships, enveloping the Vanguard. The crew braced for impact, but instead of destruction, a holographic figure materialized on the bridge. It was humanoid but alien, its translucent form shimmering with faint colors. Its expressionless face turned toward Alina. You have awakened us, the figure said in a voice that resonated deep within their bones. Why do you disturb the relics of our kind? Alina stepped forward cautiously. We didn't mean to intrude. We're explorers, survivors, from Earth. We stumbled upon your ruins while fleeing enemies who seek to destroy us. The alien tilted its head, as if processing her words. Earth, primitive species, yet you possess fragments of our technology. How? It's complicated, Alina admitted. We salvaged some of your tech during past encounters with other races. We've been trying to learn from it, to protect ourselves. For a long moment, the alien stared at her, its gaze piercing. Then it spoke again. Your presence here is no coincidence. You stand at the edge of knowledge too dangerous for your kind. Long ago, we wielded such power, and it led to our downfall. Images flashed around the crew. Massive fleets clashing, planets reduced to ash, civilizations crumbling into dust. The vision ended abruptly, leaving silence hanging heavy in the air. "What happened to you?" Alex Torres whispered, breaking the quiet. "A weapon of unimaginable scale," the alien replied. "It consumed stars, unraveled galaxies. In our arrogance, we created something we could not control. Now only echoes remain." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. She glanced at the obelisk still glowing faintly outside the ship. "Is that what the obelisk is? A piece of this weapon?" The alien nodded slowly. "Yes. And now it calls to you. Beware, human. Power unchecked corrupts all who wield it." With that, the hologram vanished, and the mysterious ships began drifting away, disappearing into the nebula. The crew stood frozen, grappling with the weight of what they had learned. Raj Patel broke the silence first. "If we activate that thing, we might be able to stop the Krillians once and for all." "But at what cost?" Elena countered sharply. "They warned us about its dangers. Do we really want to risk becoming like them?" May crossed her arms. "And if we don't use it, the Krillians aren't going to give up. Earth is still trapped." Arguments erupted among the crew, each side presenting valid points. Meanwhile, Atlas quietly analyzed the data retrieved from the ruins, cross-referencing it with the obelisk's energy signatures. It calculated probabilities, weighing potential outcomes. As the debate raged on, Elena walked to the viewport, staring at the obelisk floating eerily in the distance. She knew the decision rested solely on her shoulders. Whatever choice she made would shape humanity's future, and possibly its end. "We need more information before deciding," she finally said, turning back to the group. "Let's examine the obelisk further. If we understand how it works, maybe we can find another way." Her words calmed the room, but unease lingered. As they prepared to investigate the artifact, none of them realized that the true danger wasn't the weapon itself. It was the temptation it represented. The crew of the Vanguard approached the obelisk with caution, their ship's sensors scanning every inch of its surface. Dr. Elena Vargas stood on the bridge, her eyes locked on the glowing structure outside the viewport. It pulsed rhythmically, as though alive, and emitted faint vibrations that could be felt even within the ship. The air was thick with anticipation and unease. "This thing is incredible," Alex Torres muttered, his voice tinged with awe as he reviewed the data streaming in from the probes. "It's like a self-contained power source, but also something more. I don't think we fully understand what we're dealing with." "Understatement of the century," Madeline added dryly, keeping one hand on the controls. "We should have left it alone." Elena ignored their comments, focusing instead on Atlas's analysis. The AI had identified key components within the obelisk that matched the schematics of the ancient superweapon seen in the alien hologram. If activated, the obelisk could generate energy capable of destroying entire fleets, or worse. But deactivating it might erase humanity's best chance at defeating the Krillians. As they debated their next move, Lieutenant Marcus Kane, a former military officer who had joined the mission during its early stages, watched silently from the corner of the room. He had been unusually quiet since arriving in the nebula, his usual gruff demeanor replaced by an unsettling calm. No one noticed when he slipped away from the group. Kane made his way to the engineering bay, where critical systems controlling the ship's propulsion and weapons were located. His movements were deliberate, his jaw clenched tightly. When he reached the main console, he inserted a small device into the interface panel. Lines of code scrolled across the screen as he initiated a program designed to override Atlas's core protocols. "What are you doing?" Raj Patel exclaimed, entering the room moments later. He froze, staring at the unauthorized device plugged into the system. "Marcus, stop. You're compromising the ship." Kane turned slowly, his expression cold. "Compromising? No, Raj. I'm saving us. Humanity isn't ready for this kind of power. We're reckless, unprepared. Look at what happened to those aliens. They destroyed themselves chasing greatness. Is that what you want for Earth? Raj stepped forward, his hands raised placatingly. I get it, Marcus. You're scared. But sabotaging the ship won't solve anything. We need to work together, not tear each other apart. But Kane wasn't listening. With a swift motion, he pulled out a concealed weapon and aimed it at Raj. Stay back, he growled. This ends now. I'll hand over the obelisk to the Krillians myself if I have to. At least they'll know how to handle it responsibly. Before Raj could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Atlas detected the breach and alerted Alina, who rushed to the engineering bay with May and Alex close behind. They arrived just in time to see Kane attempting to flee with the override device still active. Marcus, Alina shouted, her voice sharp with authority. Stand down. Whatever you're planning, it's not going to help anyone. Kane hesitated, his weapon wavering between Raj and the rest of the crew. For a moment, it seemed like reason might prevail, but then his face hardened. You'll thank me later, he spat before turning and sprinting toward the docking bay. A tense chase ensued. May intercepted him near the escape pod bay, tackling him to the ground while Alex disarmed him. As they restrained Kane, Alina knelt beside him, her anger giving way to disappointment. You betrayed us, Marcus, all because you didn't trust us to make the right choice. I trusted humanity too much, Kane replied bitterly. And look where it got us. With Kane subdued, the crew worked quickly to undo the damage he had caused. Thankfully, Atlas managed to isolate the corrupted systems before they spread further. But the incident left scars, not just among the crew, but in their confidence moving forward. As they returned to studying the obelisk, Alina couldn't shake the feeling that Kane's actions were only a symptom of a larger problem. Trust was fragile, and the weight of their decisions would test them all in ways they couldn't yet imagine. Outside the ship, the nebula shimmered ominously, as if watching and waiting. With Lieutenant Marcus Kane detained in the brig, the crew of the Vanguard refocused their efforts on understanding the obelisk. The betrayal had shaken them, but it also strengthened their resolve. They knew they couldn't afford another mistake, not when Earth's survival depended on their success. Dr. Elena Vargas stood at the center of the bridge, her gaze fixed on the glowing artifact outside. We've come too far to turn back now, she said firmly. If this obelisk holds the key to defeating the Krillians, we need to unlock its secrets, but carefully. Atlas, ever vigilant, processed vast amounts of data from the obelisk's energy signatures. Analysis complete, the AI announced. Obelisk contains dormant subroutines capable of generating localized space-time distortions. Integration with ship systems could enhance defensive and offensive capabilities. Localized distortions, Alex Torres asked, scratching his head. You mean like bending space around us? Precisely. Atlas replied. Such technology would allow the Vanguard to manipulate gravitational fields, creating impenetrable barriers or catastrophic disruptions. Belina exchanged a glance with Madeline and Rajpatal. The possibilities were staggering, but so were the risks. Activating the obelisk meant integrating alien tech directly into the ship's core systems, a process that could destabilize everything if done incorrectly. Yet, without it, they stood little chance against the Krillian armada. We'll proceed step by step, Elena decided. Raj, you and Alex focus on stabilizing the integration protocols. May, prepare the ship for any potential instability during activation. And Atlas, keep an eye on every system. If anything goes wrong, I want to know immediately. Hours turned into days as the team worked tirelessly. The engineering bay hummed with activity, wires snaked across floors, and holographic schematics floated in midair. Tensions ran high, but no one complained. Each member understood the stakes. Finally, the moment arrived. With everyone at their stations, Alina gave the order. Activate the obelisk interface. Let's see what this thing can do. A low hum filled the ship as the obelisk came online. Its glow intensified, bathing the Vanguard in radiant light. On the monitors, streams of alien code scrolled rapidly, merging seamlessly with the ship's systems. Suddenly, the entire vessel shuddered violently, throwing the crew off balance. "What's happening?" May shouted, gripping the controls tightly. "Energy spike detected," Raj yelled, frantically adjusting settings. "Shields are overloading." "Stabilize the flux," Alina commanded, her voice cutting through the chaos. Alex leaped into action, rerouting power manually while Atlas recalibrated the core. Slowly, the tremors subsided, replaced by an eerie calm. Then something extraordinary happened. The ship's hull began to shimmer faintly, as though wrapped in an invisible force field. Outside, the nebula's swirling colors bent unnaturally around the Vanguard, distorting reality itself. "It worked," Raj breathed, staring at the readings in disbelief. "The obelisk has integrated fully. We're untouchable." Alina allowed herself a small smile. For the first time since leaving Earth, hope flickered brightly within her, but there was no time to celebrate. Scanners picked up multiple signals converging on their location. The Krillians had found them. "Prepare for battle," Alina ordered, her tone steel hard. "Let's show them what happens when you underestimate humanity." As the Krillian fleet closed in, the Vanguard surged forward, its new abilities rendering enemy weapons useless. Plasma blasts ricocheted harmlessly off the distortion field, while retaliatory strikes tore through the alien ships with devastating precision. Commander Zerk watched in stunned silence as his once mighty armada crumbled before him. When the dust settled, only the Vanguard remained intact, its gleaming form a testament to human ingenuity and defiance. As Zerk transmitted a reluctant truce, Alina stood tall, her heart pounding with pride. But amidst the victory, Atlas issued a quiet warning: integration complete. However, prolonged use may destabilize structure. Risk of cascading failure remains. For now, though, humanity had proven its worth, and Alina knew this was only the beginning. The battle with the Krillians had ended in a stunning victory, but the cost weighed heavily on Dr. Elena Vargas and her crew. The Vanguard floated silently in the aftermath, its hull shimmering faintly under the distorted light of the nebula. The ship was battered but unbroken, a symbol of humanity's resilience and ingenuity. Commander Zerk's transmission echoed across the bridge one final time before severing contact. "You have proven yourselves worthy adversaries," he admitted grudgingly. "We will honor this truce, for now. But know this, there are greater threats beyond our reach. Threats that even your newfound power cannot withstand." As the screen went dark, an uneasy silence settled over the crew. They had defeated the Krillians, freeing Earth from their blockade, but Zerk's warning lingered like a shadow. What did he mean by greater threats? And how long would this fragile peace last? "We've bought ourselves some time," Alina said finally, breaking the quiet. Her voice carried both relief and determination. "But we can't rest yet. If we're going to protect Earth, we need to be ready for whatever comes next." Nylin nodded grimly. "He's right about one thing. This isn't over. Not by a long shot." With Earth no longer under siege, the team set course for home. Along the way, they worked tirelessly to repair the damage sustained during the battle and stabilize the obelisk's integration into the ship's systems. Atlas monitored every fluctuation, issuing warnings whenever instability threatened to spiral out of control. Despite their best efforts, it became clear that using the obelisk's full power came at a price. It drained resources faster than anticipated and risked catastrophic failure if pushed too far. Back on Earth, news of the Vanguard's triumph spread like wildfire. Governments hailed the crew as heroes, parading them through cities and broadcasting interviews worldwide. For the first time in years, hope surged among humanity. Space exploration programs received renewed funding, and dreams of interstellar travel reignited across the globe. But behind closed doors, Alina faced difficult decisions. She knew the obelisk's secrets couldn't remain confined to the vanguard. Its potential was too immense and too dangerous to keep hidden. Under strict secrecy, she briefed world leaders about the artifact's capabilities and the risks it posed. Some argued for dismantling it entirely, fearing humanity wasn't ready for such power. Others wanted to weaponize it further, creating an arsenal capable of dominating the galaxy. Alina refused to let either side prevail. Instead, she proposed a compromise. Establish a global council dedicated to studying and safeguarding alien technology. With transparency and cooperation, humanity could learn to wield these tools responsibly or destroy itself trying. As weeks turned into months, life began returning to normal, or as close to normal as possible after such upheaval. The crew reunited occasionally, sharing stories of their new lives while reminiscing about their journey. Mag returned to piloting experimental craft. Alex dove back into engineering projects, and Raj continued researching ancient civilizations. Even Lieutenant Marcus Kane, released from custody after intense psychological evaluation, sought redemption by working with ethics committees to regulate advanced technologies. For Alina, however, the fight wasn't over. Standing aboard the Vanguard, now docked in orbit, she stared out at the stars. Somewhere beyond the horizon lay mysteries waiting to be uncovered, and dangers lurking in the darkness. "Atlas," she said softly, "what do you think is out there?" "Unknown variables exceed current data parameters," the eye replied. "Recommend continued exploration." A small smile crossed Alina's face. "That's what I thought." With Earth safe, for now, the ship prepared for its next mission. Whatever challenges awaited them, one thing was certain: humanity had taken its first steps toward becoming unstoppable, and the Vanguard would lead the charge into the unknown, forging a future where Earth belonged among the stars, not as conquerors, but as survivors. As the engines roared to life, casting a fiery glow against the void, Alina whispered a promise to herself. "This is just the beginning."